In 1314, at the Battle of Bannockburn, the English army outnumbered the Scottish infantry 3-1, yet they were absolutely routed, suffering devastating losses. That humiliating defeat exposed a glaring reality. The old English military machine was completely broken. The core problem lay in how the troops were gathered. Armies were raised through royal summons and feudal levies. Soldiers showed up out of legal obligation to their lords, resulting in a disjointed force of men who didn't want to be there, let alone fight. Decades later, King Edward III found himself fighting on multiple fronts, across France and Scotland. He recognized that relying on reluctant feudal levies would only guarantee more disasters. To save his kingdom, Edward overhauled the economic framework of the army itself, trading feudal summons for a system of professional contracts. This document is an indenture, Edward's catalyst for change. He began phasing out forced feudal levies in favor of contract armies. The king entered into written agreements with selected captains, paying them full wages to raise a highly specific headcount of soldiers. Because captains were now paid by the crown for the quality of their retinue, they stopped bringing unfit peasants. Instead, they recruited trusted, experienced men from their own estates who had proven themselves in battle. This reliable pay and higher recruitment standards changed the social standing of the English archer, elevating them from a poor rural conscript into a respected professional. These new archers were drawn from the yeomanry. They were relatively wealthy landowners and tenants who ranked just below the nobility, and they took immense personal pride in their craft. Edward formalized this shift in 1344 with a strict decree. He legally mandated specific wealth minimums, requiring men with land worth a certain amount to serve as archers. By replacing obligation with cold, hard cash, Edward effectively shrunk the overall size of his armies, but he secured a significantly more lethal force. Since these professional yeomen were significantly wealthier, they could now afford to buy and maintain their own horses. These men were not horse archers in the traditional sense. They did not shoot their longbows while riding. The horse was strictly a logistical tool, allowing the archers to move with lightning speed across the battlefield before dismounting to fight. This newfound speed gave birth to the chevauchée. These were devastating, highly mobile raids driven deep into enemy territory to plunder resources and apply severe psychological pressure on the French. Because they could cover large distances so quickly, the mounted archer became a versatile, all-purpose soldier. They could rapidly reposition during sieges, ambush enemy camps at dinner, or support amphibious landings. The archer's economic upgrade solved the vast geographical challenges of the Hundred Years' War, providing England with an agile strike force that the French simply couldn't catch. Of course, high-quality troops still require elite leadership to function properly. Edward cultivated this by actively promoting capable military talent based on experience rather than birthright. He created the Order of the Garter, an exclusive military brotherhood that instilled strict discipline and a shared sense of professionalism among his top commanders. On the battlefield, this discipline materialized into a symbiotic partnership. Heavy men-at-arms held the center, flanked by archers. As enemy cavalry charged, these archers unleashed a massive hail of arrows, bleeding their momentum. The men-at-arms absorbed the weakened shock and pushed forward to counterattack. This entire system relied on absolute discipline. Soldiers were strictly forbidden from breaking ranks to seek personal glory or loot, until the commander gave the specific signal for plunder, the infamous call of havoc. Executed with precision, this tactical setup resulted in legendary English victories at Crécy, Poitiers, and eventually Agincourt. By centering his army around the contract rather than the crown, Edward turned a disorganized levy into a disciplined cadre of professionals. It was proof that a well-paid force, legally and financially invested in the campaign, could reliably dismantle the old world's reliance on feudal obligation.